Good day, this is your class in Introduction to Guidance and Counseling, and I am your instructor. You can call me Mom Julie. So today we will be tackling on the nature, characteristics, principles, and goals of guidance and counseling. We will be also be dealing with the difference between guidance and counseling and a brief history of guidance and counseling. But before that, let me share to you a quotation. A person's most useful asset is not a head full of knowledge, but a heart full of love, an ear ready to listen, and a hand willing to help. I find this quotation appropriate for you as you become a future guidance counselor. Now let us start with the history of guidance and counseling. The guidance and counseling formally started at the turn of 20th century. Foundations of counseling and guidance principles can be traced from ancient Greece and Rome with the philosophical teachings of Plato, idealism, and Aristotle's realism. Let me share to you some highlights of guidance and counseling in the US. 1900, Frank Parsons, the father of guidance, established the vocational guidance movement. During the World War I, psychological assessments were given to military for recruitment. Prior to the World War II, there was a Great Depression. So, expansion of counseling roles beyond vocational concerns were considered. After the World War II, the personal and career problems of veterans influxed to higher education. And after the war, increased emphasis of school counseling as part of National Defense Education Act was undertaken. Now let me bring you to the history of counseling in the Philippines, how they are brought here in the Philippines. In the pre-colonial Philippines, it was much like neighboring Indonesia and Malaysia, and counseling still shows vestiges of indigenous help seeking through. So before counseling came, Philippines was only focused on the superstitions. They rely on elders, faith healers, and fortune tellers. They believe in the supernatural. This is according to Bulatao in 1992. In 1521, the Philippines was rediscovered by Ferdinand Magellan, which began the Spanish colonization, resulting mainly the religious conquest. 80% of Filipinos are Roman Catholics. The American occupation from 1898 to 1941 and military bases into the 1990s followed Spanish colonization. From public school to government, the United States has had strong influence in the country. The language instruction in the country is English. That was really very influential until today. And greater respect is given to anything American over anything Filipino. The United States has even had significant impact on counseling because Filipino counselors and psychologists are often trained in the US. Now let us tackle the highlights of the guidance and counseling in the Philippines. Counseling as conceived in the United States, so it's really conceived. The concept of guidance counseling really came from the United States, began in the Philippines during the American occupation in 1913 to 1934. Colleges in Manila providing guidance counseling services geared toward identification professions and opportunities for employment. There, the establishment of the first psychological clinic at the University of the Philippines. The growth of guidance and counseling was hampered by the World War II. In 1940 to 60s, counselor training birthed the professional organizations. Prior to 2004, counselors and other mental health workers did not need license to practice, nor was there a regulatory board to ensure adequate training. So it was only after 2004 that guidance counselors practice need to have a license. Enactment of Republic Act 9258, Guidance Counseling Act of 2004. This is the result of the Guidance and Counseling Act of 2004. So Republic Act 9258 really obliged the guidance counselor to practice that no guidance counselor can practice without the license. The enactment of Republic Act 129, Psychology Act of 2009. So it's not only the guidance counselor who needs some license, also the psychologists. And then, let's move. Republic Act 11036, there was a Mental Health Act of 2018 because Only few have license. That's why many guidance counselors could not practice in school because they have license. That's why this gives way to the Mental Health Act of 2018. Frank Parsons, the father of guidance, stressed that the scientific approach to selecting a career in selecting a vocation, one must have a clear understanding of one's aptitude, abilities, and resources, knowledge of the requirements, advantage and disadvantage of different employments, and understanding of how these two are related. In your first activity, I asked you your idea of the guidance office. I tried to check on your answers in the Google Forms. You said guidance is a place where the naughty students end up for disciplinary actions and counseling. Do you think that's all? Do you think that's right? You also said it's where advice or information are provided to solve a problem. So for you, guidance is where you can get some advice. There are some who said it is just like our home. Some also said it's a place that can help each other find a solution to a problem by means of advising to a person who needs counseling. I also tried to see an answer that it's a place where students need help in dealing his or his struggles in decision making. So for this, um, he or she thought that this place helps the person in his decision making. Lastly, there was also an answer that will give him or her guidance in form of advices. So practically, you said that guidance counseling gives is for advising. That the guidance office is for those who seek for advice. Guidance and counseling. Guidance and cards and counseling are twin concepts and have essential elements of any educational activity. Yet, guidance and counseling are not synonymous terms. Guidance is a service unit within the educational program which involves an integrated approach to the development of well-functioning individual primarily by helping him or her to utilize his or her potentials to the fullest and plan his or her present and future in accordance with his abilities, interests, and needs. That is the according to Republic Act 9258, Rule Number 1, Section 3. Service Unit. So this guidance is side by side with the educational system. So it is an important entity or unit in education. And this involves integrated approach. What does it mean, integrated approach? It uses different approaches so that the person or the individual that will be helped will be well functioning. So when we say integrated, it could be physical, it could be mental, social, intellectual, and all the other aspects of individual so that he would be helped in utilizing his potentials to the fullest. And, and the guidance also would be helping the individual in his plan so that his plan would be according to his abilities, interests, and needs. Like, for example, when someone would need help in his career. So it should be much. Like for example, you would like to become an engineer. So when you are an engineer, you should also be good in math. So this the individual here is help discover what are his abilities and interests, so that it would match what he would like to be someday, especially in his career. This guidance then. It is a process of helping any individual to understand themselves and their world. When we say their world, that means his environment that he is in. Guidance is an assistance made by available competent counselor. When we say competent counselor, it is a registered or a licensed guidance counselor. And it is given to an individual of any age to help him direct his own life, develop his own point of view, make his own decision, and carry his own burden. So it is for all. It does not choose. Therefore, in educational context, means to indicate, to point out, show the way, lead out, and direct. Now, what is counseling? Counseling is a specialized service of guidance. So that means counseling is just part of guidance. It is an interaction. When we say interaction, if there is a counselee and there is a counselor. It is an interaction process that facilitates meaningful understanding of self and environment and result in the establishment of goals and values for the future. Counseling, therefore, is a relatively short-term, interpersonal, theory-based, professional activity guided by ethical and legal standards that focuses on helping the persons who are basically psychologically healthy, resolve developmental and situational problems. I asked you to differentiate between guidance and counseling. If you look at the picture, there is a vast difference in the picture. Now let me just share to you one answer which attracted me. And this is his or her answer. I don't know who is the owner of this, but I am just it just struck me because of the answer, because his or her answer focuses on the picture. He said the photo on the guidance side shows a person who is confused and problematic about which path should he go. All the paths aside from what is ahead are cut, making it more easy to find out where he should go. The other side of the picture shows that same person was also confused and in some much doubt. These are different paths ahead of him, and he finds it hard to figure it out where he should go. The overall picture is showing that the guidance is about finding solutions to a student's problem, while counseling is about finding students' problem. Both aims to help the students to choose a better decision. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's try to see how his answers or her answers is related to the definition of guidance and counseling. Guidance is broader and comprehensive. So, because as I said, counseling is just part of the guidance. Counseling is one of the services of guidance. Therefore, counseling is narrower in depth. So, and it's a counseling, you have to go deeper to the problem. And then guidance is preventive and developmental. If you see the picture, in the later part of the arrow, it is broken. So the guidance helps you prevent that you would not be able to go there in that broken arrow. Counseling is curative and therapeutic, developmental, and remedial. So it can be expected that those who are undergo counseling has really problems, while guidance can be given even to those who have no problem. Like for example, in a seminar, like for example, seminar on drug abuse prevention. So it can be that you are not a drug pusher or not a user, but then you were still given the guidance so that you will be prevented to be in that addiction. Guidance may be given in any normal setup. So like for example, a seminar given by the guidance counselors or a career talk or a symposium, that is guidance. While in counseling requires a special setup, that's why when you will have your counseling, you will be brought to the guidance counseling room so that there will be more privacy because you have to deal deeper to your problem. Guidance is an integral part of education and assists in fulfilling its aims. Okay, that's why you have some orientations, that's why we have testing, because when we give the test, we are in a way assisting the education that who will be accepted in the school. Well, counseling is needed in all fields. So counseling is not only true at the in the school, it can be also used in the community, in the hospitals, or even in the industry. Guidance may be done by any guidance worker, teacher, parents, or anybody else. So, guidance can be, like for example, in a seminar, we can invite anybody to give the seminar, and that is a part of the guidance. While counseling requires a high level skill, which has professional training and also has license. In guidance, intellectual attitudes are the raw material of guidance, while in the counseling, emotional attitudes are raw materials in the counseling process. So in the guidance, it's more on the cognitive, intellectual. Like when you listen to some seminars, it can be just in the intellectual level, but in the counseling, it's emotional. We deal on what you feel with that problem. We deal on why are you feeling that way. So it's more on the emotional level. In guidance, decision making operates in the intellectual level, while in counseling, decision making operates at the emotional level, just like what I said earlier. Guidance generally, education and career related and personal problems, while counseling is mostly offered to personal and social issues. Therefore, the guidance is just helping someone along, but still letting that person do a big portion of the work. While counseling, more on an intervention and helps the person pretty much all the way to the work because they could not do it themselves and would have failed doing it without an intervention to help the person. So it's more personal. The counseling is more personal because the person here is really in need of help. So guidance is more on general, even given even for those who have no problem. What are the principles of guidance? According to Gibson and Michelle in 1991, Crow and Crow 1961, and Villar 2017, the guidance is an integral part of the educational system. So guidance is really part of education. You cannot be successful without the guidance because it deals with the persons who is inside the educational system. If there is no, if you are not, you will not be guided. Probably your head will just be big, but your heart is small, and even probably you will have a problem in the social aspect. Another principle is that it is responsive to the student's needs. So that is why probably to some of you have already tried that you have answered the assessment needs of each student during the enrollment. Because when we design the program, we base it according to the student's need. So any activity that we will organize is responsive to the needs of students. Because if you will make an activity and the students does not need it, then it's useless. Another principle is that it recognizes the student as an individual and is premised on the following. A. Every individual has needs that must be attended to. So we believe that all of us, each individual has needs, though it varies. It has different needs. That's why we have to attend to that because we believe that each individual has needs. No matter what is it, as long as we believe that an individual has needs. Guidance should be extended to all. It's for all. We will not be choosing who are going to avail the services. The services will be for all students, even for the parents, teachers, and the administration. Again, guidance should be extended to all, not limited to those only close to the guidance center or to those close to you, for the popular or for the intellectually gifted. No, it is for all. Every individual is unique and possesses worth and dignity. So we believe in this premise that each one is unique, each one is special. That's why you have to be treated with worth and dignity. No matter what your problem is, the person is really worthy and has dignity. That is why he is also worthy to be listened to. The fourth one is human beings can develop their own insights. That is why guidance and counseling is not advising because we believe that you are capable, that each individual is capable of learning on their own. And then lastly, all individuals have the right and capability to make decisions and plans. That is why the guidance counselors only facilitates. The guidance counselor does not give advice because we believe that all individuals have the right and capability to make decisions and plans. That you have the capability to make a good decisions. What is the nature of guidance? It's a process. It does not change over time. It's a continuous process. It is apart from instructions. So it's different. It's not just teaching. Guidance is not just teaching, it's a process. It's a process of development rather than direction. That's why I told you that guidance is not advising. That's why the guidance counselor is just there to journey. For example, you look at the picture, the girl who is in bicycle. It's a process. So it's a process, it's a continuous process that you would learn. And then it is not part of the instruction, it is a process of development rather than direction. Let me end you with the goal of the guidance. The guidance is geared towards helping the individual into realizations of their human dignity, that they would appreciate themselves, that each individual must realize that he is worthy and he is capable to grow into total persons involving the different aspects of their development. This is what I say that it is integrated to that fully functioning individual, geared towards a fully functioning individual, physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, morally, and spiritually. So it doesn't only take in one aspect. It doesn't only take the mental aspect, not like in the instruction that it only deals with the mental. and the awareness and acceptance of themselves and others set personal standards and discover the sense of purpose in life. Because once you would help the person find a purpose in his life, then that person would find meaning in his life. And that is the goal of the guidance and counseling. Thank you.